Hurricane Hugo in this particular case shows us how the storm stacks up against other big hurricanes that have been hitting the United States.
This is Hurricane Hugo ripping its way across Puerto Rico. High winds and heavy rains, roofs torn from buildings, trees uprooted. Hurricanes are ranked on a 1 to 5 disaster potential scale. Hugo was a Category 4 storm as it tore across islands from Guadeloupe to Puerto Rico. It then dropped to a Category 2 or moderate hurricane. But it has picked up speed, and its potential for damage now has it back as a Category 4, capable of extreme damage and storm surges of 13 to 18 feet. A Category 5 hurricane capable of catastrophic damage has winds of 156 miles an hour or more and a storm surge of more than 18 feet. Hurricane Camille was the last Category 5 hurricane to hit the U.S. Camille slammed into the Mississippi and Louisiana coast in mid-August 1969, with winds close to 200 miles an hour. Before Camille's fury was tempered, more than 250 people were killed and damage totaled more than $3.5 billion. This is Hurricane Hugo plowing towards the southeast coast of the U.S. Winds swirl around the eye, the calm area in the center. Storm clouds called wall clouds surround the eye. A hurricane's strongest winds and heaviest rain occur within its wall clouds. Hurricanes are areas of low pressure that form over tropical waters. They literally feed on the warm waters. Winds blow counterclockwise, moving the funnel-like eye in a usually westerly direction. The storms usually become larger and stronger as they move erratically through the warm tropical waters. Hugo, however, has maintained a pretty constant intensity and direction as it churned across the Caribbean. Traveling into the eye of a hurricane aboard a reconnaissance plane dramatically captures the intensity of the wall or storm clouds and the sudden calm of the eye. A hurricane's high winds and heavy rains combine with the force of the sea to produce the surge.
Georgia has made landfall at Charleston, South Carolina. At this hour, Hugo remains over the historic city. It's expected to make a gradual turn north and cause severe flooding as it moves up the East Coast. And joining us on the phone, our correspondent John Holloman, who is in Charleston. John.
Donna, let me just describe what I can see right now. Large limbs from pine trees that are blowing by in front of a van from which I am talking to you. They are moving about 5 or 6 miles an hour on the ground, blown by winds that are much, much higher than that. You can see pine trees that are bending over, probably 15 or 20 degrees out of being straight up and down. And everything is moving here, including this van, as it rocks back and forth. As more and more gusts of the backlash, the trailing edge of Hugo, come over us here.
John, have you left the building that you were in before that you said you could see through a hole in the roof? Yes.
When the eye came here, Donna, what they told us to do was evacuate the building, and they marched us from this building to another building that's built from concrete blocks. And I asked one person how long the eye would be over us, and they said about an hour. And I said, in that case, we should go back and try to send you some pictures. And, so that's what we did a few minutes ago. Let me just interrupt myself here to tell you that the wind is blowing even harder now. Pine tree limbs continue to whip by right in front of my face. But yeah, we're out of that building. Sections of the roof have blown off of that building. And the other reporters who were in there, we believe, have gone on into the shelter of the concrete block building. But we decided it would be better for you, our viewers, to be out here in it so we could describe it to you.
All right, from Charleston, South Carolina, John Holloman, thanks so much for the information. And for the latest on Hugo, we go to the National Hurricane Center, and Bob Case is standing by to help us out. Mr. Case, can you tell us, after the eye of the storm, is the back part of the hurricane stronger?
Well, not necessarily. Normally, the worst conditions as far as the strongest wind, the possibilities of the tornado activity usually are in that right front quadrant. However, each hurricane is different. Now, I would suspect in this particular situation, along the coastal sections, the winds could be just as strong with the backside as they were with the front. And also, with the winds coming onshore like that, the storm surge should remain for another half hour, an hour, and then as the winds gradually die down, so will the higher tide.
Mr. Case, you mentioned the storm surge. For those who have been with us or who are just joining us, a little bit more, could you explain about just what that storm surge is and what that's expected to do at Charleston?
Well, a storm surge, I guess if we want to put it in perspective, everyone has blown on a cup of hot coffee. You blow too hard, the coffee goes out the other side of the cup. All day long, we've had 100, 130 mile-an-hour winds blowing on the surface of the ocean, blowing the surface of the ocean toward the land. Once it reaches the land, there's no place for that water to go, so it stacks up along the beach. So when we talk about a storm surge of 12 feet or 17 feet, we mean the water, where the surf normally is now 12 or 17 feet above normal. And then superimposed upon that would be the waves created by 100-mile-an-hour winds.
All right, Bob Case at the National Hurricane Center, we appreciate you talking with us. And we want to check in with Chris Abel. He is in Wilmington, North Carolina. Chris.
Well, the Hugo is beginning to take its toll right here in Wilmington. Winds gusting up to 70, 75 miles per hour are blowing me over here, blowing some trees over, and they've knocked the power out as far as I can see right now. Actually, all I can see is the camera in front of me. The power is out at the hotel we're next to right here. You can't see anything in downtown Wilmington. I'm told by the authorities that the power is out, scattered power outages throughout the Wilmington area, 100,000 people here, including one of the shelters, I might add, where 300 people are trying to get out of the way of Hugo. They're without power here in town. We have a CNN, we have a crew, I should say, over in the Wrightsville Beach area, about 15 miles from here, which is really getting the brunt of the storm more than here because we're buffered by the beach. A tidal surge there is expected at any moment of 10 to 20 feet. If that does occur, it will flood many of the homes, nice homes that are on the beach over there. Right now, the Sheriff's Department here in New Hanover County is patrolling the area in about 20-25 cars, trying to make sure people are okay, also making sure there's no looting going on. It really is pitch black here, so it's hard for them really to see what is going on until daybreak. Of course, we'll keep up with the situation. The rain itself has stopped for now, although it has come from time to time, and limbs keep flying by from time to time also as the storm comes up from the Charleston area along the coast. This is Chris Abel, CNN, reporting live, Wilmington, North Carolina.
Chris, do you have an idea of the folks in Wilmington? Do you get the idea that most of the folks are prepared? They knew that it was going to be fairly serious and they took enough precautions?
From what I'm told through the emergency authorities here, they feel that most of the people here were prepared. Many of them have gone through hurricanes in the past. They took the time to board up their homes. And the people that were the most affected, those out on the island, most of them have left. There's just a few remaining on the island, according to the Sheriff's Department. Others have left to come over here, which is, again, buffered from the storm. They're staying in shelters, they're staying in hotels, or with friends, and they're hoping to escape most of the damage. It remains to be seen if that does happen.
All right, from Wilmington, North Carolina, Chris Abel, thanks very much. We want to take a look at some of the damaging winds. We have this for you, Hurricane Hugo's winds, and this is as of midnight Eastern time. You can take a look. Gale force winds are over 39 miles per hour, and hurricane classified as, I believe it's over 74 or 75. Now you can see the hurricane force hitting between Savannah and Wilmington, and the gale force still around Savannah. Our correspondent Jeff Block was out earlier, and all of our correspondents this evening, you can see the wind as it hits them and get an idea of how strong these winds are. Gale force winds continue from Wilmington going up through Cape Hatteras. All right, our special report will continue in just a minute. And this is a CNN special report. We continue our coverage of Hurricane Hugo. Joining us on the telephone right now, Elizabeth Nabonet. She is a district manager for Southern Bell in Charleston, South Carolina. I wonder if you could tell us, Ms. Nabonet, where you are right now.
I am in the middle of downtown Charleston at our emergency center for Southern Bell. We're very proud of the fact that, with the exception of 2 of our barrier islands, everyone still has telephone service because 79% of our facilities are underground, which comes in very handy during a situation like this.
You bet. So that means that all the emergency 911 and numbers like that would be working now.
That's true.
Are you getting very many calls?
In our command center, we are not. Certainly people out there are calling each other. There's one local radio station that's still on the air, and lots of people are calling in there to tell what's happening around their homes as far as fallen trees and water damage and that kind of thing.
But as far as you know, the emergency number, like say the 911, you're not getting a great deal of calls?
The 911 is not in this building. Mm-hmm. So I would not have any knowledge about the number of calls that they are receiving.
Was it any different for you when the eye of the storm hit?
It was a very eerie feeling because the winds that came through were 137.5 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden it was a total calm. It was very, very eerie. Some of us went downstairs just to look out and see what had happened, and their trees snapped off and power lines down and some water in the streets. And the back part of the storm now has started downtown, and roofs are ripped off and trees are continuing to fall.
All right, from Charleston, South Carolina, Elizabeth Nabonet, District Manager for Southern Bell there. Thanks very much. And joining us on the telephone, our correspondent, John Zarella. He is in Florence, South Carolina. John, what's going on there?
Well, Donna, about 10 minutes ago, the electricity finally went off after flickering on and off for about the past half hour. It's completely out now. There is generator power operating a few of the lights in the shelter.
Bad weather, and we talked about earpieces that we have and with our correspondents. And we thought it might be interesting for you folks to get a look at the behind-the-scenes look at the National Hurricane Center, which is in Coral Gables, Florida. And Bob Case is here, and he's going to give us a bit of a tour and tell us about all the folks it takes to help us learn this information. Bob.
Well, Donna, I think you're a day late and a dollar short. Maybe not the day, but at least the dollar. You should have been here about 3 hours ago, and you wouldn't have even been able to pan the camera around. But this is what happens when the hurricane makes landfall. Hurricanes are a coastal phenomena, and as soon as they hit the coastline and move inland, the hurricane center gets out of the picture as quickly as possible. For example, now, as the camera pans, we've got two of our forecasters who will cover the midnight shift. Now, up until the hurricane made landfall, there were at least 4 or 5 meteorologists into place. Now that the hurricane has made landfall and it's after midnight, Miles Lawrence is one of the hurricane specialists, and Jim Gross. Jim Gross is working a storm in the Pacific. We do have the Eastern Pacific to cover while all this mayhem is occurring in the Atlantic. And of course, Miles in the back there is a hurricane specialist that's working Hurricane Hugo. And as I say, all the excitement and most of the action is over for the time being here at the Hurricane Center.
Is this a time for you when you can kind of sit back and look at the storm a little bit more and kind of grab some bearings and then look when it kind of passes with the eye of the storm?
Well, see, the eye of the hurricane moved onshore about midnight, and once the eye of the storm moves onshore, the coastal problem they've had their problems. The storm surge is there. The strongest winds have already occurred. Now what happens, and the next stage in the scenario, we here at the Hurricane Center will transfer our responsibilities to Kansas City, who will write storm summaries for the next 2 days as what is left of Hugo passes up through the northeastern part of the country. And the local weather service offices, such as Columbia, South Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina,
sure.
The weather office in Washington will take over and follow the remnants of the storm.
All right.
The big problem now is going to be the flash flood problem.
Okay, all right. Bob Case, the National Hurricane Center, thanks for showing us around. Thanks very much. And our special coverage, continuing coverage of Hurricane Hugo continues on Newsnight Update in about a minute. Stay with us.